Well, hello everyone. I have Amber Webb here with me today, and boy, are you in for a treat. Amber is a ball of energy and she is incredible and she's a great lady. I can't wait for you to get to hear from her. So, Amber, tell us about Amber.
Oh, that's a good question. So I am Amber Webb Maxfield. I have a couple businesses. I'm a mom of three, two boys and a princess. I have a dog, but those are just my personal life. The businesses I have is a local networking group, which is how I met you and connections through having that. And then I have my own transformational healing coaching business where I help people work on relationship conflicts and transform through those and heal the pains, aches, pains, diseases, discomforts, and emotional scarring that goes along with having relationship conflicts. Um like specifically recently, like generational family conflicts, generational passed down BS through the ages.
Mhm.
Because I literally had my own stuff and cured my autoimmune disease in 2020 from stuff that happened when I was a kid. I've had more than one autoimmune disease, all related to some BS relationship conflict. That's just the short and
That's
skinny of the story.
well, I am sure we're going to dive into that at some point in time, into the process of that. Uh, so tell me exactly which. So you have two businesses, you said, right? Two.
Mhm.
So tell me about the networking first.
So I started Rad Networking Group. It'll be 3 years in January, so we'll have a 3 year anniversary party. I decided to start my own group, and to be interesting enough, one of the reasons I was reminded this afternoon, at a meeting we had this morning, for several reasons. I really wanted to run a group. I wanted to add coaching qualities. I really wanted to have that, like, more of that emphasis on personal development and professional development there. Like, I really like to dive, which I don't feel like a lot of groups do or not enough. And I really wanted that to be a bit more. So that's one of the reasons. So I took the best of all the different groups and, like, okay, I have my own. And um, after our conversation today, this morning, I asked people about your networking boundaries, and they all say, you know what I don't like about networking? I don't like when I go to a networking group and I feel like there's like a click and I can't, like,
Hmm.
walk up to people and start talking to people because it's too hard to interact and nobody's walking up to them. So I was like, that's actually another reason one of the reasons I started Rad is, like, I wanted to make sure that people felt included, noticed, welcomed, and that
Yeah.
that they weren't like visit and then left because nobody really interacts with them. That we don't have that, like, that click where you don't feel like you can't walk up to people. So that was important to me. I'm real good at including people. When I went back to school, before starting my business, I had a social math club for fun. And it was all no, it's really funny. And I was like, oh, I'm really good at including people. I'm really good at
Hmm.
pulling people in and making them feel welcomed and included, and, like, so that's how I ended up. It's now having having my own networking group is because that's a value to me. Also, like, family friendly, because I was in another group. They're like, oh, we don't really like it that you occasionally have your kid here, even if they're in the other room on a device. Like, I'm like, but it was important to me to include family friendly, because if your kids are home and say you were single or say you just didn't have as, like, help around, like,
Hmm.
business doesn't stop just because kids are home,
Yeah.
right? And so I was like, well, I want that to somehow be, like, easy for the kids to come every so often. It's not that they have to be there all the time, but kids can learn how to be a part of things and learn from things, especially since, like, they understand that 9 to 5 jobs exist and they don't necessarily want to do that anymore. So let's show them, like, networking is possible, building your own
Yeah.
business is possible. They kind of all want to do that sort of anyways, but they don't really know how to do that or even necessarily connect. So I wanted that to be important part um of Rad networking group. Uh that being said, um, I started another that's not another business, but it is another business. It's kind of a nonprofit, but it's not a nonprofit. And that is, I created an annual event where the children vendor business fair, where they get to be the vendors and show their wares and good, and created that with where Rad hosts it, and then, like, doing all the ins and outs of organizing that. And the first one was the hardest, and it's gotten better. This year was the second one, next year will be the third one, and I got all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, learn this, learn that. And I had a bunch of families come, and, like, interesting. It was really funny, let me tell you, is I sent an email like a week after after the event and I've been waiting to hear back and waiting to hear back. And I'm like, why isn't nobody here back? I asked for feedback. I asked for pictures. Yeah, it turns out I didn't send the email. I drafted it with Chat GPT and
Oh,
it wasn't even drafted in my draft emails. It was still with Chat GPT. So I said, hey Chat,
that's
can
funny.
you redraft this and say, oops, I forgot to send to a couple of weeks ago.
We've all
Like,
been there.
yeah, because I knew somebody would reply back. And I was like,
Yeah,
why has anybody replied
we've all been there.
back?
We
It's
thought
like
we've
that
sent the
message you think
text.
you sent, but you didn't.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's exactly
I
what you're like. Why
I
did
want
they
to
reply?
say, Amber, I love that you brought up the whole networking thing where some you walk into the room and it just really feels very clicky or
Right.
because I think that there are some really great groups out there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you like I've visited a lot of chambers at this point in different networking groups because like there's a fit for everybody. Not
Yeah.
everybody you just don't go into it and whether there's a click or not, you go into it and you're like, "Oh, I don't know if this group is for me." Doesn't mean that it's not a great group. It just might not be the right one for
Right.
you. And
Yeah.
so I love that concept of just wanting to be welcoming and wanting to have it be open so that someone does feel more comfortable. It's intimidating, especially when you're starting a business, to walk into a room of people who you think are already like leaps and bounds beyond
Yeah.
where you're at.
Or they got some
And
sort of thing that you're not in on, which we have a little bit of like he feels like they're but what I do that I became very aware of on Friday is that somebody was like, I have like a lot of energy. When I go to a group, I kind of hang out on the outskirts because I have a
mm,
massive amount of energy. And I said, oh, cool, cool. He goes, but I really like to like just kind of observe from this outside perspective. And I said, well, the thing about rad is I call you out and you're seen. You're very seen and you don't get to hide, which and then I realized, oh, there might be people that doesn't work for, and that's
hmm
fine. But it really works for people who need to be seen and can't
yeah,
hide, who like when we hide, we can, if we're hiding, maybe that's not a bad thing, but maybe we're hiding and we're not growing.
yeah,
So I kind
see,
of, I have a tendency to like talk to people in the, I have a tendency to include people, to include kids and teach them. She is a very
yeah,
good networker. She comes and she hangs out. The last time I had a networking meeting where I did the speaking and we talked about earlier, the 10 lunch, the third Wednesday lunch
hmm
at Happy Joe's. She had to come with me because my husband's schedule changed. She climbed up on her own chair and just sat across from somebody.
oh,
They can learn. She's 19 months old. They can learn how to conduct themselves at a meeting, even at 19 months.
yeah,
At 12 months, she was a little hard. But at a certain age, they can come and they can be a part of it and they can understand. That's why it's important for RAD. We even have Children's Day. We have the Children's Business Fair, like during like would be like winter break when no other group meets for winter break, depending on the day of the week, where Christmas lies and all that is Kid Day. I find it
hmm
important that they understand that there's an alternative. So
love that, love that.
she's a part of everything. She's
So
been
tell
networking since she
me
was 1 month old.
tell me about the other side of your business, the coaching side of your business.
So coaching is my coaching, the whole premise behind that is taking you, like it's very transformative. It's taking my favorite thing to do of all times is do something called timeline therapy. And that's to go back into the past, into these moments of decisions or conflicts where these things have happened that have created this impact that keeps
Mhm.
having an impact on you, right?
Right.
Whether it be relationships, whether it be decisions, whether it just be all of it is this like computer programming. Like when we're younger, we make decisions about our personality, about our health, our wealth, and like our relationships and how we treat our environment, how we treat food. All of those are decided at such a young age, and sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they get in the way. In 2020, I did this very intensive training called NLP. I had already gotten a certification in coaching, already been networking for a while, for a couple of years when I did NLP. And NLP allows me to tap into the computer brain, your computer, like the programming, your unconscious mind, thing that runs everything in the background.
Tell everybody what NLP means, because there's a lot of
Neurolinguistic
people that don't know.
programming.
Say
Yes.
that again.
Neural linguistic programming to be shortcut. Tony Robbins, which is very famous coach. He does NLP. He disrupted the whole industry. So he's a big NLP person. I don't think he trains in it, but he uses NLP in all of his training and all of it. And there's like so many things that allows me to do to tap into that unconscious mind, that program, that below the iceberg of getting to things. Um, it's been massively helpful to tap in. Like one of the things that I could do that I absolutely love to do is one of my favorite is take a food that you like and turn it in food that you don't like. That's a lot of fun. Like if you like soda and you really shouldn't be drinking soda or candy or some other like so one of the people I done she liked Texas Roadhouse rolls. So she goes, "Oh, I just can't stop eating them and I really don't need to eat them." Okay, let's do Texas Roadhouse rolls. And then we turn into like sardines or something. And she goes, "Oops, I think we got rid of whole Texas Roadhouse and my husband loves Texas Roadhouse. Whoops." That's one of the like examples of like being able to tap in. Another one with like when it comes to like clients and relationships and the things that have happened to them is like if you can think of the person or an event that triggers you, that creates us like a negative charge. Like I had one person, she was failing to grow in her business because of somebody else in her organization like stole clients and it was making it hard for her to have sales conversations. And when she would see this person's voice and hear her and like see her post on social media, it was cringy and she wanted to like scroll through it fast as possible, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That emotion, there's emotional charge there. I've had other people, somebody else was like an alligator. Somebody else, it was something on a political stage, a very public stage. And by the time I met her, she was early stages of dementia. And all of this, I can stem back to that conflict of that political that he like embarrassed her and she's like I worked on it and at one point in time I would like really like if I had seen him I would want to run him down with my car. Anyways, the point I'm getting at is I was able to help these people neutralize those moments with these people, neutralize the feeling and what the moment that these conflicts were created so they no longer had that charge. And so the one guy could look at the alligator, the other person could listen to that person's the salesperson could listen to the other woman's voice without feeling cringy. And prior to that would have been like absolutely no. And then the lady with the on the political stage who was embarrassed, she was able we were able to pull up their Facebook picture, which under my Facebook because it was blocked under hers, and there was nothing there, you know. Until we remove that emotional charge, it's going to have an impact. For me, what happened to me, something happened when I was 13, lost friends and family when I was 13 over a fight, um and it accumulated in my body. That's what will happen. It accumulates 1 to 3 years later is when you're going to the doctor and you're having symptoms and you're having problems. And for me, that was hives. Loss is related to loss of contact. And I found out about it during my training. My training in 2020, my body broke out real bad. And it's like, oh, you're going to work on this problem. You're going to work on it now. And I'll make you work on it because that's what happens if we ignore a problem. Sometimes it'll make you work on it when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not ready, it'll find another way. So in 2020, my body's like, oh, you're going to work on it because you're doing this training. And I was able to undo the event that happened when I was 13. I was able to address it and I haven't had hives since. And that's just one of my autoimmune diseases. All conflicts are related to something that we need to work on. And sometimes we are working on it. One way we work on it is like stubbing our elbow or like stubbing our toe or hitting our elbow. Like that's a small way of working on an issue. If it becomes bigger or more chronic or we're lying to ourselves and we're saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need to work on that. I'm fine. It's all good." Like, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. You're still stressing. There's still charge there. It'll
Yeah.
it'll it'll find a way to work on it, you know.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that you are working with people to kind of help them focus on the things because I think emotional intelligence is a huge piece of that. And I think that that's kind of similar to what you're talking about because like sometimes there's things that trigger us within our emotional intelligence because we don't know how to process it. And through that, we respond or react in a way that doesn't really show emotional intelligence.
Right?
That
Right?
makes, yeah. So I love that. Um, what give me a one
Well,
thing
we're
that has been
responding, like you said, in a non-intelligent way, that could be a part of a program that runs, right? Like, so something happens and that's how programs are done, and then it
Hmm.
like plays out. It
Yeah.
plays out the program. So it's a trigger. This is how you act, this is how we do, and this is how we close the whole program. So that could be a part of
Yeah.
that. And that's, we can actually undo those kinds of things too. If we know how to start it and how we want it to go, we can undo that trigger point, which is so cool,
Yeah, that
right?
is really cool. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
So tell me about a challenge that you had in your entrepreneurial journey. Like,
right.
yeah.
So the thing about being an entrepreneur is that I feel like it's like those early stages of having a baby. Like, there's some growth, there's some fun, there's some ups and downs, there's some cutting teeth, there's some growing pains, like your legs hurting, you know, there's a lot of ups and downs to it. There's some point you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I feel like that's something that's normal. Like, why am I still doing this? But you still want to do it. But there's a point where you're like, oh, but you know you're going to do it every day because your why is strong.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't have days where it's like, oh.
There are definitely those days.
Right, but you still do it because there's a
Hmm.
there's a reason you're doing it,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
There's something that's motivating you and driving you. And if there isn't something that's like keeping you going every day when you're your own boss, how are you going to keep going?
Yeah.
So it has to be there. It has to be strong. It has to be clear. And if it isn't, maybe that's why people can move on and do something else.
So what's your why?
Oh, that's it. My children. It literally says that on their business card.
I
Mommy's
love
why
that.
as a business. I need to order new ones because they have new titles now. And I have 3 children now, and I had 2 children at the time I had those cards made. Uh so I am driven to work on my stuff. The reason I went into coaching and it's so appealing to me is I like so I went back to school to find the thing that fit, and then I found coaching after reading the book You're Baddest at Making Money, where I have to help people, talk to people, and constantly work on yourself.
Hmm.
And it doesn't end. If you talk to a coach who's been coaching for years and you ask them how much money they've spent on training,
A lot.
more than a college degree,
Yeah.
year after year after year,
Yeah.
guarantee it's more than a college degree. I've paid
Well,
more
and
than
then take into your books that you read and the other webinars and seminars and workshops and conferences and like, yeah, I mean, it's never ending.
right? And I love that because you're also self-motivated. It's not like you have to get your hours in to keep your license and that's what your motivation is. It's no, you really had this like drive to keep working on your stuff and like
Hmm.
figuring out more stuff about yourself and then applying that and how you can help others
Yeah.
and teach other people while also working on yourself. That's what I love about it is like I get to work on my stuff. I needed to work on my stuff. Guess who's asleep? She
Of
fell asleep
course.
in my lap talking, which is perfect. Um, and that's what I like is I had stuff that I really wanted to work on, but I didn't really want to see like a counselor. So with the
Mm.
NLP, I realized a lot of different things. Like there's some blocks that I had, which is why I signed up for the program that's local. They made it really easy to sign up, and I got to work on my stuff without talking and telling talk therapy. I didn't have to do talk therapy about my stuff.
Yeah.
Um, same that's why I love timeline so much is that when I work with somebody, they don't have to tell me the details of what happened. We don't need to know like who was there, what was involved. And actually that's actually can be not helpful sometimes. It creates inroads to the problem. But so I love that I can work on my stuff and I don't have to like share details. I don't have to go through it. I don't have to relive it. You don't have to feel that because you're feeling the emotions. When you talk about it,
Yeah.
like when you have a car accident and you tell the cop and this cop and the judge and the insurance and your spouse and your friend and
Yeah.
everybody else under the sun, your body is going through those same chemicals all over again. It's
Yeah.
reliving as if you're already in the car accident. We all know that car accidents are stressful, even if it's a fender bender and it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's still very heart palpitating, anxiousness and like a lot
Oh,
going on,
yeah.
right? So if you're telling somebody about it, imagine all that going through your body every time you tell somebody, right? That's what happens.
Hmm.
And the inroads it creates in your brain. on the problem. So any problem that you have that's like that, and you tell the story of the stress and the conflict that happened between you and so, the problem's not going away, it's getting bigger. You're
Yeah.
accumulating on that problem, perpetuating it, and it's going to show up as you having knee injuries, hand injuries, arm injuries, or even the bigger stuff like the cancers and the strokes and all the things.
All the things. There are a
Yes.
lot of things. As starting a business, there's so many hats that you have to wear outside of like just for the business, not including if you have a family or if you're married or all of these
Right?
other components. There's so many hats that I was in a networking meeting this morning and a gentleman that was giving a presentation, he's like, I'm the owner, I'm the technician, I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the marketer. And he was listing off all these things. And he was saying, I have one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these when I started. And it was all me.
Right.
And I was
Well,
just like, that's
it's
so
good to
true.
define all the roles and then figure
Mhm.
out what point when you're passing them off.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Is
But
that something you
anyways,
help people with? Like, you need to pass that off.
oh, 100%. I do the 3 bucket rule. You have 3 buckets. The first bucket is the things that only you can do. The
Yeah.
second bucket is there's things that you can do, but someone else could do them. Maybe not to your 100%, maybe they're at 70, but they can still
Yeah.
do it. And then the
Right.
last bucket is those are things you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
So I always tell my clients, take your hourly rate wage. Now, and if you don't
Hmm.
have an hourly wage, like take your income, figure out your hourly wage, and
Right.
that's the money you're spending in that third bucket.
Yeah. So I try to explain this to a friend of mine. This is not a business owner. This is just a friend of mine. He makes good money.
Hmm.
Um, but his house is horrific. He doesn't clean it. He's not going to listen to this, so I can safely say that. So, anyways, I'm like, why don't you hire somebody to clean your house? Because that's obviously not your wheelhouse. That would be like a third
Yeah.
bucket thing. He's not good at it. And he or like even mowing the grass doesn't make sense. I'm like, for how much you make an hour, this doesn't seem to make sense for you. To me, it doesn't make sense. But he's like, I'm not hiring somebody because he's kind of tight with money. He's good with, but at the same time, he paid his house off when most people don't, and half the time that most people do.
Right.
So, but I'm like, but like if you're hourly and you're wasting time on mowing the grass or like like clean your house, but you're not really that good at clean your house. Well, I'd have to and making up all these excuses. Well, I'd have to get video cameras and like record them and blah 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 blah. They're not very good. Yeah, but obviously this is not something you're good at. And your house is really bad.
Sounds
Like,
like he needs a coach that does NLP.
yeah, but you can't. Sometimes you can't coach your friends and like.
That's true, but other people that do NLP.
I know, but no, he'd have to. That's another thing. Just because you know somebody who could use some help, are they ready? Are you ready? Is the horse ready to drink from the water?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
So
no.
how do you keep yourself motivated in times when it's really challenging as a business owner?
I feel so when I started and when I went back to school, because at that time I didn't have a lot going for me. I didn't have like this thing that I could be motivated, but I didn't have like a feeling of purpose.
Hmm.
Um, I just had this like inner knowing of like, I'm meant for better. Like there's more, there's better for me. There's more out there. There's like by growing my coaching business and saying the right things, somebody gets to hear it and I get to help that person. So when I go
Hmm.
like to a networking meeting, speak so somebody can hear what you have to say so you can help them.
Yeah.
So like at some point, like, do you ever want to give up and like not grow your business? No, because by me growing my business, I can uniquely help somebody who we are a good fit for each other. And I get to grow my business so that we can find each other so they can find me and I could be uniquely qualified. Like somebody could be same qualifications, but they like my personality. Like they're attracted to me for a particular
Yeah.
reason, right? So I get to grow my business so that I have those people that I get to help.
Right. Love that. I would say that's probably my number one motivator for my business is just helping people, helping businesses be successful in because when someone is doing what they do, like you love what you do, it's obvious that you love what you do, both in the network realm and with your coaching. And when someone loves what they do, it brings some type of happiness to someone else that they're helping, right?
Yeah.
Because in the business that what we do, we're helping people in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yes. And it's
And
satisfying.
it is satisfying, and it feels like there's a bigger purpose, and you're helping with that person's purpose, or something along those lines, depending on the person and whatever the thing is. But
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's definitely motivating. I just love, like, I'll have one-to-ones with people, and I'll just sit and they'll just start asking questions, and I'll just start saying, hey, here's something that I noticed. Have you tried this? Have you done
Right.
this? How can I help you? That's a question I usually ask at the end of my one-to-ones. How can I help you?
Yeah.
You know,
And
just
it's important.
because.
How do I help you? How do we help each other? What can we do for each other beyond this moment right now as we wrap up?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And
And
I love it.
there was something I was going to say. You've been in business for, has it been a year?
Almost. It's been well over a year. It's almost 2 years.
Fantastic. I've been in
Yeah.
business for 6 years. My middle child is 6, so it makes it really, really easy to count. So there was something I was going to say about being in business for yourself, and it's a journey. And man, it was on the tip of my tongue. I was getting ready to say it, but it is, oh, the journey, the process. Be mindful of how you talk about the journey. Because if you think it's big or hard, it will be. But beyond that, it gets to just be a process. I always just say it's a process.
Hmm.
When we start, there's a trap of comparing where your business is to somebody who, even if they've been in the training classes with you, where
Yeah.
they're at their business, where you're at in your business, and where you're at in your journey, and where they are at in their journey. It is a trap as a business owner, especially I think as more of a newer business owner, that imposter syndrome. And you cannot compare your journey to anybody else's. People will fall into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
be mindful of that. For anybody who's like, if they are new or thinking about it or starting it, like you've been, I bet you could relate.
Yeah.
I bet you've
Oh,
looked at other people and gone, why am I not there? Or how am I compared to them?
I went into it trying not to have that mindset.
Oh, good.
The reason why I did that is just because, like, my clients may not be the same as somebody else's, and it's just like, we've had other people that do what I do, wanting to come visit different networking groups that I'm a part of, and I'm like, yeah, you can come visit. Well, are you concerned? I'm like, no, because I just have the belief that if I give to others, I'm going to get it back in some way, shape, or form, and I just don't really worry so much about how that's going to come back to me. I just know that it will. And I just kind of live with my hands open, saying, well, how can I give? How can I help people? And that's
Right.
just my philosophy of life, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. Like, yeah, I don't like, that's why it's important that we're not category exclusive, because we are able to help each other.
Hmm.
One of the things that we have in RAD is mastermind meetings, and
Hmm.
we have a wedding mastermind, and we have more than one DJ company, and they help each other. They collaborate
Hmm.
with each other. They talk with it. They share insights with each other. And so I love that about that. And the masterminds themselves, oh, masterminds are worth their weight in gold. Like the
They are.
conversations you can have of just having that intimate conversation in like sort of group setting to help each
Yeah.
other and those conversations. So and it's good to be there for each other, and we attract different people. Like I said, there's people who do similar things to me than that I do, had similar training, different training, NLP training. I'm meant to attract with certain people who like
Yeah.
my personality, or maybe their
Correct.
personality, or whatever. And so yeah, there's no reason to compare how my journey to that other coach's journey, and it's a trap. Or even any other business of somebody of similar nature. We
Yeah.
all have to go through our process the way that
We
we go
do.
through it.
And you're right. We all attract different clients depending on with our personality, different things that are in that. And it doesn't mean that one's more successful than the other. It just means that we have a different pool with people. It's like the
Right.
given, like, it's just we just have a different pool.
You have a different vibe, different attraction, different
Yeah.
energy level, vibe. So, which is also why there's different networking groups, different vibes, energy
Yes.
level, different attractions.
Yeah.
You'll find your tribe. You'll find the people that work for you.
Exactly. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about just the different networking groups. Like I have visited all kinds of different networking groups and stuff, and I just wanted to find the ones that fit for me. Doesn't mean any of the ones that I didn't join or go to are bad. It just it fits my schedule, it fits my personality, it fits all these different things. And networking
Right?
is such a big part of building a business.
Yeah, I don't know that people can say how you would. I don't think there's any way to tell somebody this group would be a good this group or that group. You just really got to figure out your own
Yeah.
what fits for you.
Yeah. I would agree 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So like in my group, if you want to hide and it's one of my meetings, like I run the meeting, you won't be able to hide. And that
No.
works for some people. That's gonna
Yeah.
be really like they're gonna like that they're
Yeah.
gonna feel very included and that they have a voice and that they're heard and
Hmm.
that they get to talk and be there's gonna be people who want that. So whoever, if you're one of those who wants their opinion heard, come and hang out with us. We're a lot of fun.
So you guys just started another, I don't know what you're calling it, a chapter or another.
Yeah, I think chapter location, North County chapter. Yep. So we have a third
Awesome.
location, in 3 years, almost 3 years. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. So tell me the times that you guys meet. How does someone come visit? Like, what does that look like?
There's no like registration. They can just show up. And they can also find us on Facebook under Rad Networking Group, which is a good place to see like events happening.
Hmm.
And I should really be on LinkedIn more because I know that's very professional. I'm just not intuitively on LinkedIn that often, but it's a good idea to be on LinkedIn. Like for real.
Yeah.
Anyways, we meet at Viviano's in Chesterfield. There's more than one Viviano's in Chesterfield on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. And then Fridays, we started that was last year at Fridays at Happy Joe's at 9 a.m. That's run by June Matoba. And now North County
That
on
that's
Thursday,
in
it's run
St.
by
Peter's, right? Happy
in St. Peter's, yeah.
Joe's. It's in St.
Happy Joe's in
Peter's.
St. Peter's. And then Thursdays in North County at Big Belly Deli, and that's run by Angela Meyer. And she wanted to open a North County location, and I was like, sure. North County, I don't know that they've had the greatest success in the past with other groups. I think other groups have tried and they haven't always taken off real strong. So Angela is up for, she moved out there recently and up for getting connected to that community. What I've noticed of the people who did show up the couple times I've been there, I wasn't there last Thursday, I had another appointment. Community is very important to that area. A lot of the a theme of the people who grew up there is like
Yeah.
community. So it's very important to them. So I don't hear a lot of other places saying that, but it's very important to like I guess it's a new fluorescent. It's very important or fluorescent.
Hmm.
There's not new,
Yeah. It's
just
Florissant.
fluorescent, just
Yeah.
fluorescent. It's important to them, so they can build a community out there, a rad networking group out there. I think it'll go strong.
So how does someone, if they're interested in talking to you about the coaching side of things that you do, how do they get in touch with you for that?
Right. I am Amber at amberwebb.com. I'm pretty easy to find. Web with two B's. Um, did I share my social links for you to put in notes?
Yeah, I'm
My
gonna put them in
Facebook's
there.
probably there. If people want to give me a referral, like if they know somebody, I do love referrals, either email or text message or messenger for friends in any of those spaces. If we're not friends, then my email. Like if you don't have my personal number, but I don't think I hide it. A three-way conversation, like, oh, I think you should meet so and so, or I think you should talk to so and so. Or they could talk to me first, like, I want to talk to you first, and then I want to introduce you to whoever it is.
Yeah.
And give me the chance if they can. I love so I feel like people think of that person like, oh, you know who'd be really good at that. Um, when they think of whoever that is, oh, you know who'd really do well. Let me talk to them. Like if they're like, well, I don't think they'll sign up. Well, let me have a conversation with them. Don't make the decision for them.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, like you're not me, you're not that, you're just assuming. So never assume. You're
And
assuming
you're
they might
also
have a physical.
communicating something that you don't really totally understand either because you've not been through the process.
Right.
Not you, but like the
Yeah,
person
yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah, trying to sell them like, oh, well, you should talk to them. Like you're trying to sell them on something like you said, you barely understand, but like that person came to mind. So if they came
right,
to mind, there might be a good reason.
right.
And if you did have somebody come to mind, you might be a good person too. You might want to try it yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Right? So referrals are always great. I mean, that's how networking is. That's the whole point of networking, business, connecting you with here's my people, here's your people.
Hmm.
Come and meet these people.
Okay, if you could leave an inspiring thought for in a spot for someone that's just getting into their business, what would it be?
Let me tell you a story. So there's this a story I heard about this game, and it's like werewolves and villagers, okay? And the whole point is to figure out who the bad guy is. So it
Mm-hmm.
could be any name, but like you're trying to figure out who the bad guy is, but you don't know enough. So then the bad guy knows who they are, and then like they go and kill off a villager kind of thing. They go kill off the villager, and the rest of the villagers got to figure out who it is and like vote people out kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and so what ends up happening in the long run, the bad guy, whoever the bad guy may be, always ends up winning. And the reason is because they have more information. They have more information than everybody else, and so then is able to then sway the villagers into voting like off other people who aren't them. And the point of this is there's also a game that the kids play, which I don't know how to play, but I've seen my kids play it, which is uh Among Us. The game is called
Yeah.
Among Us. Have you seen your kids play it?
They used to, they don't now, but yeah.
Right, they're a little older. So the whole premise behind that is that like you know more than everybody else. So when you know more than the people around you, you do better. You win the game. So if you were a new business owner, educating yourself and reading things that help you is how you win the game.
Yeah. I
Right?
love that. Yeah. Readers
Yeah.
are leaders. That's what I tell people. Readers are leaders.
Yes. And so that if you're not reading, how are you getting ahead in your business and in your life and you're working on your stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when your stuff comes up, I mean, you still have to take action. You can still read all day long and then not take action.
Yep.
But it's better to read than not read. That's a
Yeah.
huge one.
I used to know this guy, great guy, very nice man, read all the time. Like he read more books than it was insane.
Yeah,
But if you read books and you have knowledge, but you don't ever implement it, you've learned nothing.
right? Then it's not, yeah, you're not taking action. You're just
Yeah.
processing it. And you're not, if you're not teaching it either,
Right.
then what's the point? And then there's lots of people who I know read lots of books that, when I mean read books, I mean, nonfiction books.
Right. Right.
You can, and it's good to read fiction books because it helps keep the brain engaged and keep
Mhm.
creative. So absolutely read those, but also read the occasional nonfiction books like Atomic Habits is good, even people who
Yep.
don't
Great
like it.
book.
I know people who are like, oh no, I'll never read a nonfiction unless it's for work. And it's like, unless it's like they make them do it, but they don't choose to do it. And it's like, that's important. You need to choose to do it. Like find a way that works for you. I need to listen to books because it's just easier for me.
Sure.
I can do it on my phone. I don't always do it in person. I don't like physical book. Find a way that like works for you that you can sort of consume it. And it can also sometimes like professional podcasts are good. Obviously, maybe they're already if they're listening to this, they're probably reading. But that's something I would
Probably.
definitely say to like any new business is that you got to do that. Like it's super, super important. Or, I mean, how are you going to get ahead? Right?
Yeah, one of the other things that I think that is really cool is go into one-to-ones. Like when you have a one-to-one meeting with someone that's a business owner already, go in with curiosity so that you can learn from that person.
Right? You don't know what they have to say. You know what's in your head. You know the knowledge you know, but
Mm-hmm.
do you know what they know?
Right, exactly.
And if you're the smartest person in the room, maybe you should go to another room so you can learn,
True. True.
right?
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
learn something,
Yeah.
And that's the thing about businesses. Also, we have one-on-ones with people. It's also you learn something from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out, it's not just about can we do business together? What can you also learn from each other, help each other with?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm sure they can learn a lot from you. They need to, in order, they have to hire you so they can learn that they need to learn stuff.
Well, Amber, I really appreciate you taking time today to be on the podcast, and I'm going to put all of Amber's information in on the post and in the podcast and on YouTube. And man, Amber, thank you. Appreciate it. I love you have a vitality for life, and I love it. And you
Somebody
don't
said the other
apologize.
day, playful, and I was like, oh, I like that word.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I know that you're comfortable with who you are, and there's no apologies. You are who you are, and you love
Yeah.
it, and you own it. And there's a lot of people that don't have that same confidence, and I think that that's a beautiful thing.
I have to say, anything that you admire in somebody else also exists within you, or else you wouldn't be able to see it. So you are also all of those beautiful things.
Well, thank you so much again. And I'm
Yes,
sure
you were
we'll
on
see
my
you back.
podcast, and then you're like, "Oh, I can't
Yes.
wait for you to be on mine." I said,
Yeah. Yep.
"Oh."
All righty.
So,
Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you again.